I've been waiting on this one for literal years. I think this is probably one of my earliest, most wanted GMT games when I started wargaming, because I believe it was available when I first started wargaming, and then it went out of print, and then it was impossible to find. And then it went on P500 for a reprint, and I was very excited. And this is the second printing of Hoplite, Warfare in the Greco-Persian Age, 5th to 4th century BCE. This is Great Battles of History, the series designed by Richard Berg and Mark Herman. Very established series of tactical Ancients war games, with the exception of one that was not set in the Ancients period. And this is the earliest, or one of the earliest, actually. I think Chariots of Fire is earlier, but one of the earliest in the chronology of human history in terms of battles it's being simulated. So the Greco-Persian War, you can see all of the battles listed here. There's a ton of content in this box. And I want to do a quick unboxing because I'm very excited, as I said, because I've been waiting so long. So Hoplite, second printing, has finally arrived. I love this cover, by the way. Really great image. I can't remember if the first printing had this on the cover. I'm sure it must have. I just don't remember that. So here we have the rules booklet, second printing, with a great sketch on the front. Really love that style. It's a 31-page rule book with an index on the back. And it is going to be your traditional GBoH fare. There's a lot of illustrated examples here, talking about all the various aspects you need to play the game. I have not played Hoplite before, so I'm curious what the command system is like. I do know the Roman ones tend to be quite involved in their command system. So here's the activation and order section. And it doesn't look too complex, so that's cool. We have got the scenario book, and this is where we list the actual battles and what year they took place. Ephesus, Marathon, that's one that most people will know. That battle created a sport where the first man who participated in that sport died at the end. I'm talking about the Marathon, obviously. Plataea, Mycale, Tanagra. Some of these I don't know. Cunaxa, that's a big one. Leuctra, that's going to have Spartans in it, I believe. Mantinea. I believe the largest Great Battles of History scenarios are in this game in terms of number of units. So let's just take a look here real quick. Here's Ephesus, the Ionian and Greek allies under Aristagoras versus the Persians under Megabates in Asia Minor. Small scenario there to kick things off. We've got the Battle of Marathon, again, rather small scenario. This one obviously took place next to the coast and was a significant, I believe the Battle of Marathon had significant repercussions for the Battle of Thermopylae, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're familiar with the 300. Here's Plataea. Lots of terrain on this one, lots of units. You can see the ranks and ranks and ranks of units there. This one I've seen on the table once, and it was pretty impressive to behold. Multiple pages of rules and setup for this one. Here's Mycale. This one taking place with sort of a fort or fortified town here, something like that. The Greeks under Leotychides and Xanthippus versus the Persians under Tigranes and Artaintus. Here's another smaller one. And you can see that the simple GBoH versions of the scenarios are here in the playbook, which is nice. I don't know if that was the case in the first printing. Here's Delium, the Athenians under Hippocrates versus the Boeotians under Pagondus. You can see that we've got some double-length phalanx units here. I'll get to the counters in a minute, and we'll look at those. Here's Cunaxa. That's another big battle with sort of an open flank here. Sometimes these scenarios in GBoH are not balanced because historically they were not balanced. And so they will usually point that out in the scenario description. And there will be sometimes rules to make the scenario balanced with some optional setup changes or possible activation rules and stuff like that. Here's Coronea. This is Sparta and allies under King Agesilaus II versus Thebes and its allies. Pretty small battle there. So some nice manageable battles here that you can finish in one sitting. Here we go. Here's the big boy. This is Leuctra. This is the Boeotian League versus Sparta. I think Leuctra was kind of the beginning of the end of Sparta. I believe the loss of that battle kind of triggered the end of Spartan dominance in the Peloponnese, if I'm not mistaken. Here's Mantinea. Again, got some big boys on that one. Actually, this is heavily forested terrain here, too. You don't see that often in these ancient battles. A lot of these GBoH games just have like clear battlefield terrain, which makes sense given how warfare was executed in this era. It was, you get into terrain like this and it becomes extremely complex command and control situations that they just didn't have the ability to overcome. Looks like maybe an alternate setup here, or a simple GBoH version, it looks like. And then we've got some specific rules changes for simple GBoH, changes for simple GBoH for this game, which is nice. So playbook, all the battles, a lot of content in this box. You get a game turn record track. You get the 2 copies of the standard charts and tables. You get the movement cost chart. Inside this, you will have the shot combat results and superiority chart along with the weapon systems chart. I really do like this. Is a lot simpler than some other games in the series. A lot of open space here. Nothing's too crowded in. Most of the game is going to be played off this chart here. And then on the back, you've got the fire, missile range, and fire versus armor effects, which is cool. Here's a Hoplite advanced to combat. So Hoplite walk, trot, and run, which is cool. That's unique to this game. So there's 2 copies of that. In the box, we've got the cohesion hit and TQ check chart. This just lets you know like what causes hits to units and when you have to do a tactical quality check. Here, what are the conditions by which you will have to test your units. It's not too complicated. It looks like it is, but it's not. Leader casualties, if that happens, leader rating summary, orders summary, and status effects. And on the back here, we get the sequence of play, which is very nice. Doesn't look too bad. 2 copies of this chart here. We got the simple GBoH charts and tables, which is nice. So there's 2 copies of this. If you do own the simple GBoH rule set, you can play this game with that. I'm pretty sure, I don't remember these being in the original. And then we come to the counters. So this is going to be standard GBoH fare with a couple of exceptions given where we are in history. So here we've got a bunch of Persians and Egyptians and Bactrians, Scythians. Just looking for some of the leaders here to see who we've got. We've got no one that I recognize. Some of them are abbreviated as well, and sometimes the leaders aren't. They had to make up names because they don't know who the leaders were. So yeah, got a bunch of Persians here. Looks like some markers for advanced walk. That might be for the hoplites. Second sheet here, we have got green. We have got some Corinthians, some Eritreans. That's interesting. Some Greeks, some Ionians. In gray, we've got Spartans and Achaeans and Lacedaemons, Cretans. And then down here, we've got some Asiatic troops, some more Persians, Thessaly, Macedon. And here we have got some Athenians in purple. Here, more, okay, so these are going to be your phalanxes, your hoplite units. We've got Greek mercenaries, some Athenians in purple, Corinthians in green, Ambracians, Eritreans, Ionians. And then we come to the Euboeans and the Thebans, and of course, the largest counter in GBoH in the entire series, this Theban hoplite unit with a tactical quality of 9. It is a massive 3x2 phalanx. Absolute unit of a phalanx for the Thebans. And yeah, that one's gonna be fun to play with. If I recall correctly, this counter I believe takes cohesion hits for doing something as simple as moving. If I recall correctly, so that's a really fun one to play with when you get to the some of those later scenarios. How do you maneuver a unit that's 6 hexes wide or 6 hexes in area? That's pretty fun. And then some cohesion hit markers. There's not a lot of markers in this game actually compared to other games in the series. Basically TQ checks, missile low, wounded leaders, engaged. Here we have some other, looks like Spartan units. Thebes, Thessaly, Boeotia, maybe Spartan allied units, perhaps. So 4 counter sheets, and then we've got just a ton of maps, all back printed. Some of them are going to be half-size maps. Some of them, I believe, are going to be half-size maps. Let's see if we can get this open one-handed as I pull this out. This is the Battle of Marathon. It's going to be, most of the maps are going to be pretty similar, so I won't open all of them. But here we have the Battle of Marathon. The Bay of Marathon there. Big open field for the fight. On the other side, we have the Battle of Plataea. Here with the town of Plataea, lovingly rendered. Temple of Hera at the north end. And then the battlefield here, lots of terrain elevation changes. So 2 of the big boys in this package on that map. And then we've got a couple other maps in here. This one looks pretty boring. This is Coronea. It's literally just an open field. Literally no terrain. Just hexes on an open field. And then on here we have got okay, so this is a second Plataea map. So Plataea is actually a 2-map scenario with the maps being oriented vertically. So the one I showed you before is going to go over here. And then, wow, that's huge. That's a huge GBoH scenario. A lot of rivers and tributaries here. We've got more fortified towns, a Persian camp. Yeah, so Plataea is a double sized scenario, which is pretty epic. We've got my Kale in here as well. I think this one might be subdivided. Let's just take a look. Yeah, well, it's not subdivided, but you're going to use half of this map for 3 of the smaller scenarios here. No terrain. Just these will probably be good if you don't play GBoH. This will be good to learn with. Small map, half size, few units, no terrain. You can come to grips with the system. Here's Delium. It's a battlefield with like a hill in the middle, which is cool. And then on this side, we've got another divided map. We have got my Kali, which is a half-size map here, and the Persian camp down here along the bay. And then we have got Mantinea here. This is the one with the forest, so that's also a half-size map. So a lot of content in this box, a lot of scenarios. If the ancient Greek Greco-Persian Wars is your era, this is by far the best GBoH game to own. Great Battles of Alexander is good too, but that is obviously after this period. Here we're talking about the supremacy of hoplites, Spartans versus Athenians, Persians versus Greeks. You get 1d10 and a bag of baggies, which will probably not be used by me because I'm going to sort this into counter trays, and a little insert. So there you go. That is Hoplite from GMT Games, recently released second printing. This is a really great value if you have not played GBoH before, or you want to play GBoH, but you're not really into like the Roman era, because most of the games are set in ancient Rome. This is one of the few that is not. Yeah, it's not quite, it doesn't look to be as complex as like SPQR or Great Battles of Julius Caesar. So you will probably be in good hands learning the system with Hoplite. And yeah, that's a little look at that. Very excited to hopefully get this to the table at some point this year and play through some of these scenarios. Even maybe for the channel, do some of the smaller ones as a solo game. So there we go. Warfare in the Greco-Persian Age, 5th, 4th century BC. Great Battles of History, Volume 15.